Alright, YouTubers, welcome back. My name's Dave. Like it always is a newfound do it yourself, do it right. And back on the Rusty, the blue bike, the smash two parts bikes together and try to make one. And well, I've ran into some parts issues, needs parts, got parts. And I'm gonna put the parts on. This is my least favorite job, and that's it. So let's take this and throw it on here. If this is your first time putting a wiring harness on a CB360, it can be intimidating. And it's because there's a lot of plugins, a lot of different colors. But if you just take a second, take a breather, it's really not that difficult. Honda made it pretty easy. I will admit that the first time I did it, I had stuff all over the place. I had stuff hooked up backwards, blinkers and brake lights and all this other stuff. But a little bit of common sense on my part, and I could have figured it out. And I did eventually, but it's one of those things that if you don't do it a bunch, it is intimidating. So what I do is I make sure that I have the proper tools. For one, you need a multimeter, a good one, a decent one, a fluke if you're high fluting tooting. You're gonna need some dikes. You're gonna need some zip ties. If you were like me and I just went ahead and cut all the factory pieces, the plastic pieces that held it together, held the old wiring harness on, you're just gonna need some new zip ties. Not a big deal. What I like to do is I like to start in the center of the bike. Believe it or not, the center of the bike, not the front, not the back, but the center. And the reason why I like starting in the center is well, because it's really easy to find the center of the wiring harness. It's really easy to find the front. It's really easy to find the back, I guess. If you didn't know any better, you don't know which ones of these go where. But I do know where all these go. Okay, these are, well, if I can get it to get up there. This is the main ground for the bikes. Easily recognizable. It's the only one with the lug, right? So that's the ground. That's the center ground for the bike. Easiest to find. And then if you can't find that lug, find these two guys here. These are the only two sliders. And these go to the blinker, the relay, the easiest way to find. Easiest thing to do, okay? Get this centerized up on the bike. You can lay the back, you can do the front, and then you can, start. But that's where I do. I start right in the center, and I can just start, putting my, these guys here, hold the, boom, right? And then this one goes up to the headlight. This one stays here. It kind of lops over the back, if you would. It'll kind of go like that. And this is where all of your handlebars plug into. Now don't get confused. It's pretty much got the same colors in the front, this part. But this is where all your handlebar connections go. Comes down, handlebars, whoop, back to here, whoop, whoop, this little guy is the water protector. Once you get everything plugged in, that slides over top of it. Now the first time I wired a bike, I did it wrong. Not gonna lie. I put this over the back because I thought this big old piece of plastic went up into the headlight and was like the little grommet that goes into the headlight. Nope, wrong. Totally wrong. Totally wrong. I had wires going into the headlight that shouldn't have been going in the headlight and around. So, learn from my mistake. Watch the video. You know that this is the center main junction. I should say the handlebar main junction. This is the center. All of these are plugins for your various boxes, to include your fuse box, your regulator rectifier, or regulator rectifier. This is a all-in-one, Encompass 2-in-1. If you're using the old school ones, they'd be down here. So therefore those connections would be down here. And then this is all your taillight stuff. Easily put together. Once you know where stuff goes. Now it's just doing it. If you're that guy that's not very trusting, you can take your multimeter and ring out this whole wiring harness. I got this wiring harness from Sparkmoto. This is the third wiring harness I've gotten from them. The first two I had no issues with. This one, hopefully no issues with. I'm gonna go with the idea that whoever built this wiring harness built it right, and I'm not gonna check it. I didn't check the other ones, and they work perfectly. Sparkmoto, you know, I have no reason to believe that their quality has gone down. I mean, right? So I'm not gonna worry about it. But if you're that guy that, you know, maybe not very trustworthy, or trusting, I should say, not trustworthy. If you're not very trusting, then by all means, go ahead and ring it out. All right, so this guy here, so I'm basically just finding which ones go where, because note to self, or note to you guys, you can hook up the wrong connections coming from the stator to the wiring harness and the regulator rectifier. They're both little four-prong connectors, and if you don't look at the way they're wired, like this one is red and yellow and pink and green. Red, yellow matches up pink and green. You can hook them up. Wrong. Alright, so I just go ahead and hook up the regulator rectifier so I know I don't hook up the wrong one. This is going to be mounted down underneath the battery box. The reason why I mount it down here is because the regulator rectifier should be out in the open, to the open air. They get warm, so to keep them cool, there's a reason why they have the cooling fins on there, and that reason is to keep them cool. If you hide them away, if you're building a cafe racer or a brat style bike, if you hide them away and you pick and you pack it full of styrofoam or whatever because you don't want it to vibrate and scratch and do whatever, you're just insulating it, and you're just gonna make it get hotter and hotter and hotter, and then eventually it's gonna break down and you're gonna blow headlight bulbs or taillight bulb or whatever other bulb, because that's what they do. Alright, so ground wire here, blinker here, and then you got all these connectors here. This connector here comes down to here. This one the brown, brown and white, black and red, that connection comes down here to the stator. And these colors on this one are yellow, brown, red, red and something else. And this connection usually fits perfectly between the carburetor. I know that sounds weird, but that's usually where it fits best. So I can slide this, let's slide that back a little bit, run this down in the middle, and connect it up. And then you got these other ones. We're just trying to get it kind of in place, you know, just preliminary. I've already made a mistake, and I have no problem admitting that I made a mistake. I connected the brown and red and black and brown and white to the stator, which is wrong. This one actually goes to your switch. So let's route that back up underneath all of this stuff and connect it up to the switch. Now, I installed the switch on the last video. If you haven't caught that video, I actually rang the switch out because I bought it off from eBay. I wanted to make sure that it was going to work. We got pink. Oh, pink is top left, brown, brown, white. Alright, plastic on this thing is not that great, but it will work. So, let me go ahead and connect this bad boy up. Let's move this back a little bit. Now, there is no real specific place for all this stuff. It's just kind of making it all work. So if you want the connection not underneath the tank and readily available, put it down here. You know, nobody says you got to put it up under the tank. Alright, put that back there, put that back there. We'll bend those wires back so it'll stay. We're now back on the right track. Before you get going too far, you want to make sure that you take your taillights and you start routing them the way you want them routed, which I usually go underneath the frame here, and then I come back up out of beside where the battery box goes. Now, it's close quarters. I have the battery box just kind of sitting in here. That's there. This is my pink and white connector, which is here. I'm gonna connect this up, and this will all get tidied up once we get everything kind of where we want it. So this will be zip tied here. This has got to go behind that. And then I pop these wires out right before the fuse box. Just pull that up just to get it kind of out of the way. There's that one. And then my fuse box connector right here goes right here. And then these wires go to the back. And this one is going to connect to the fuse box. Now, the fuse box is just like the switch. I got them from the same guy at the same time. I rang the fuse box out just to make sure that it worked the way it's supposed to work, and the fuses in it are good. So got a fuse box and fuses. Before I actually start hooking more stuff up, just kind of give you a rough estimation of where everything's going. Headlight, this is going to come up here. These little bendy tab things, I don't typically bend them too much until I got everything where I want it to go, because you bend them too much and, you know, they break. And then we got the wiring harness underneath. This is your stator connection going down. My My regulator rectifier connection kind of just thrown in there. This guy's gonna dangle for now. And then we got the fuse box connection right in here. And then the rest of your tail light wiring back here. So, back to the front. I'm gonna hook up this little mess of wires because I don't have my handlebars, so I can't hook up anything into this yet. I don't have my headlight ready or any of the blinkers, so this is gonna be, you know, chilling. Back here I do have a starter solenoid. I can hook that up. What else is that's really I do have a blinker. Here's my starter solenoid. Hopefully this thing works. This looks kind of crusty, but we'll see, I guess. And then again, I don't have this, so I'm just kind of getting the wiring harness where it needs to go. I did put the coils on without burnishing the frame. Oopsie. And I'm gonna put this grounding between the coil and the frame. As you can see here, it's already kind of burnished a little bit. So we got a good frame ground. That's all. This is all this is about. Burnishing tool is MIA, so I'm just gonna use a bore brush. Basically does the same thing. You just want to get rid of that paint. Well, gotta go some more. I mean, it's not perfect, but it'll work. Black is not ground, green is ground. Let's throw that guy on there. Slap that back in there. It's got a nice ground. That's all she wrote. Your ground wire, putting it to the bottom in here. Because then we got all these cool little wires called coil, 2 coils, and the condenser wiring. We gotta hook all that in. And that there is the blue and yellow from the right side coil. We got yellow and black stripe from the left side coil. Actually, I'm saying that wrong. It's the condenser that is the blue and yellow. The other coil is the same. It's black and blue. And just pull these wires over. I always like to connect this stuff up on the left side of the bike because it makes it a whole lot easier to get to when you start doing timing, when you start doing you know, your points adjustments and all that stuff. If you need to disconnect and hook up your multimeter and do continuity, it just makes it that much easier. Just to get 2 more wires out of the way, if you're looking up here in this junction, there's going to be 2 wrapped together, a together pair. It's going to be like a mint green and black. This mint green and black comes down here to your horn. So to prevent any confusion with black and white or black and yellow, the stripe ones for your coils, I like to get the horn hooked up and out of the way. And that's pretty simple. The mint goes to the green, plug it in, and the black goes to the black. Each coil has a black and white bullet end and a yellow, a female end. Where are my black? Here's my black and white stripe. It's a dual female. And it's a dual female because this is where your coils plug in and get their power from. Plugged in. And now the next one is usually pretty hard because it's kind of short. It's this guy right in here. Some people build an extension for it so it's easier to plug in. I'm actually going to disconnect this one first and plug that one in first. Just makes it a little bit easier. Let's get that out of the way. This is why I don't zip tie anything first. I don't close up those clamps. There's my other one right here. Gonna click that one in. All right, so that gives your coil power. On to the next part of the coil, and this kind of gets a little complicated, can get people in trouble. You have a blue for your right side coil and a yellow for your left side coil, and they're both dual female connectors. And then you have a yellow and a blue, two males coming off from your points that are in here. And then you also have the yellow and the blue female or males coming from your condenser. Blue to blue to blue, yellow to yellow to yellow. It's pretty simple. Now people get confused because they'll put a left side coil on the right hand side or right hand coil on the left hand side. You could confuse yourself, and it's, you know, it's happened. So just take that into consideration. Yellow to yellow to yellow, blue, blue, and blue. Now when I'm doing timing, the opening and closing of the points, this is where I connect into. I just do continuity. I hook my multimeter up on here. I hook it up on the points on the other end. Spin the engine over nice and slow. When that opens up, continuity breaks. It goes quiet. There's a video about it. You can find it over my head. These wires are just along for the ride. We're just gonna put these back here. This wiring harness also works for multiple bikes, so there's extra connectors. So if you're not already confused, you know, there's more to be confused about. You're like, oh, what do those connect to? And you're just, I don't know. So don't get discouraged if you have open connectors. Up here, there's going to be a lot of open connectors. Earlier I said that this guy here is going to just hang out. And it's going to hang out for me just because this bike, this is the connection for your electric starter. And I don't have the wiring for the electric starter. So that's why I said this one is just going to kind of hang out, do its own thing, be floppy, do whatever. Eventually I might get the wiring for the electric start, see if the electric start actually works. But until I know that the bike is going to run and spark and do what it's supposed to do, I'm not going to worry about it. Alright, so the next junction that we're going to worry about is this junction right here. Now this junction has the wiring, has a power wire, it has yellows and greens and yellows and greens and pinks and yellow and red, and most of that is for this. You got a yellow and red and a black. It's for your starter solenoid. And you're probably wondering, why are you putting a starter solenoid on if you're not using a starter? And well, because the starter solenoid is basically the junction that allows the power to run through the whole bike. If you don't have a starter solenoid, it's not gonna run. It's not gonna start. You're not gonna spark. Nothing. Zero. Because your starter solenoid hooks up to your battery. Okay. And then goes in here and out and around, and bzz, 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 and sends the power and does that all, you know, all that good stuff. Starter solenoid hooks on your battery box right down in here. The little rubber. I saved it. I saved the rubber. And it just kind of hooks down in there. And then this just plugs in. Now, so here's a pro tip. Being that you got your regulator rectifier down here, it plugs in. But if you notice, there's also a little male black wire. This male black wire needs to run up and catch up into this dual, well actually it's quad, black junction for the black wire, for power. Regulator rectifier gets the power and sends it back out through here. So that you got to make a junction wire from here to there, or somehow get your regulator rectifier up in here if you like. Some people take it and zip tie it up to here. But like I said earlier, you gotta have it, well, you don't gotta. It just needs to be in open air so it'll stay cool. So do what you want. I'm just gonna build a black jumper wire to go from down here up to here. Change number 2. I think I can actually get this regulator rectifier black wire hooked up through here. I just skinned the wiring back a little bit, not the wiring, but the sheathing. It looks like it'll hook up there, and then my black wire from my starter solenoid, it might work. It's gonna be close. Because then I also got to take into consideration my brake switch, because my brake switch hooks into that power wire also. And that's also the yellow and green. I did tighten down my battery box just a hair, so it's not so it won't move, just to try to get an idea. I do plan on getting normal filters to go in here, so I gotta keep in mind the space in here. It gets rather tight once you start putting all that stuff in there. So I think for now I'm just going to set that regulator rectifier up in there, something kind of like so. And then hook everything up. See if it'll work. Get the brake switch hooked up in there, and I'll show you a nice little fun thing that I do with my brake switch to try to get it close when I don't have power, to make sure that the light works and all the other good stuff. Brake switch is installed. Now what I like to do is I like to test it with my multimeter continuity, so when I touch the brake pedal, the switch works, and I know it's going to turn the light on in the back. Basically, I'm just using my multimeter as the light. Super easy. Continuity. Take the 2 ends. Touch one here. Touch one there. Hit the switch. Alright, so it's pretty low. I want the light to come on sooner, so I need to adjust the switch up. Try it again. Alright, that seems... So if I rest my foot on the pedal, it's not going to turn the light on, but if I actually press down, that's when the light's going to come on, and that's how I want it. Because sometimes I do just rest my foot on the pedal a little bit. Perfect. So my brake light's not going to stay on the whole time. Switch wiring to the back side up through this little hole, and then we'll hook it in to the wiring harness. Black goes to black, hanging out right here. And then green and yellow hanging out right here. Here is the male, green and yellow. We'll push it down and hook it up. We hooked up the black on the starter solenoid, but we didn't hook up the yellow and the red, and I found an issue. The yellow and the red off my starter solenoid is a female, and the yellow and red on this wiring harness is also a female. So, not sure if yours will be that way or not. Mine is. I'm gonna go take a look at my inventory over there and see if I have a bullet connector. If not, I might just do a double male. Bam bam, bing bang boom. Hook it together and be done with that little issue. I consulted my other wiring harness over there, the one that I use for pieces and parts, and it told me that this wiring harness is wrong. So I just snipped the yellow and red male end off from that wiring harness, put another male end on the other end. I forgot that I had this nifty kit here to make bullet connectors. That's what happens when you buy stuff and you just kind of store it away and you forget that you have it. So I just made myself a jumper. I probably should ring it out, but I'm pretty certain it'll work. But let's do it anyways, just in case, because knowing my luck, it won't work, and then I'll be wondering when I can't get the bike to start, oh, is that jumper working right? Because that's usually what happens. One end, the other end. There you have it. It works. Yellow and red. Plugging it in. Ooh, that one's really tight. And then we're plugging it into the starter solenoid. Now the extra length of these wires makes it a lot easier. You would think that the people that make these wiring harnesses, they just go ahead and make them a little extra long, but they don't. And those two are now connected properly. Starter solenoid. We got the little power for my battery that goes here. We got the grounding strap over here, which I think I'm gonna have to loosen this bolt up a little bit so I can get a little bit more out of it. These guys are gonna hang out for now. Right in there. We'll stow them away. The more I look at this starter solenoid, the more I'm thinking that it's probably not gonna work, but here's to hoping. Moving a little further back, I'm gonna go ahead and hook up what I can for the tail lights. Now I feel like I should have ran this up underneath here, and I don't know if I still can. I should be able to. Push this guy here up underneath the frame there. Maybe. Don't get stuck, Mr. Blue. Get on up under there, yeah. Okay. Yep. Yep, we'll go up there. There we go. We'll get that there. That'll go there. Zip tie, zip tie, zip tie. There we go. What do we got here? We got a green. We got a green and yellow. We got a brown. We got a brown. Here. Plug it in. And there. We got a green and yellow. Got a green and yellow. Green and yellow there. Connected up. And then green is ground. Easy enough. This is another four-way green, because there's going to be two more grounds plugging into this, And those 2 grounds are going to come off from your blinkers. Once I get blinkers to put back on the bike. Now the blue and the orange are the actual power wires for the blinkers that make them blink. Blue is for the right, orange is for the left. And that's all. That's all I can do for now. Right here. That's all. That's it. That's it. That's all I'm doing. One note of caution. When I ordered this wiring harness, I ordered the wiring harness and the regulator rectifier, and they threw in this blinker relay. Now it doesn't say on it, doesn't say anything on it actually, but the last time I got a blinker relay from these guys, it was for LEDs, but this doesn't say it. This doesn't say anything other than the Sparkmoto sticker. So I'm going to throw it on, and if my blinkers don't blink, it's probably this relay and I'll have to get another one, which is probably going to be my luck. So here's your blinker relay. It's eventually going to live back in here somewhere once I get the filters and the carburetor and all that stuff back together. I'll see a final resting place for this guy because it can just go anywhere. The wiring in the harness is not long enough to come all the way back to where it's supposed to go. And I found that on my other wiring harnesses too. It's just not as long as it should be. So I think now that I got everything kind of situated where I want it, I'm going to go ahead and start loosely zip tying it up. And I say loosely because I don't want to cinch them all the way down and then end up having to go back to Home Depot and buy more zip ties because, you know, I tighten them and then I cut them and then I tighten them and then I cut them and then I tighten them and then I cut them. So I'm just going to start loosely zip tying this harness. I know one's gonna go here, put one here, put one there. We're gonna put them almost everywhere. That's gotta go up a little higher. High above me, it's so high. The things that make you go, Oh boy, she's a mess. She's about ready to break. Ready to break. Half of the fun is just making it neat. Getting it to where it's supposed to go. And then trying to make it look neat. I don't know if that's going to work there because it's going to be in the way of the gas tank. Speaking of gas tank, let's see if it'll fit. Only if somebody would actually clean this thing up for me. The inside's clean, but the outside, whoop, it's dirty. Moment of truth. Well, that's going to be the way, so if this goes, I just need to see if it will go around the way the switch is right now. Oh yeah. Oh, golden. Golden. Like a shower. Woo! Ooh boy. Yep. That will work. Final product. I did go ahead and pull a couple of zip ties tight and cut them. The ones I know that I'm probably not gonna have to loosen up, which means I will have to loosen those up. And I didn't have my flush cut, so I will eventually scrape my hand on the sharp edges of the plastic. But here you go, folks. From start to finish. This is the junction that's always a mess. It's always hard to get that to look decent. You got a lot of wires coming in here, a lot of important wires. I like to keep access to these. That's why these are on the outside for, you know, for the future timing. And then coming on back here, I'm still gonna let this dangle. This guy's, they're gonna eventually find a zip tied home in here somewhere. Once I get the carburetors back installed, this is gonna find a zip tied home up in here somewhere. Same with the starter. Eventually I might get the starter harness, the wiring for the starter. We'll see how easy or how hard it starts by kick-starting. And then we got, this is, yeah, I don't know if that's gonna get it done, actually, now that I got it up there like that. Maybe, all right, there we go. That'll work, actually. That'll just tuck in behind the filters. It's kind of taut down in there. So this guy will be fine in there. Got the wiring for the tail light up through here. I actually got it clipped in a little plastic clip, which was pretty fun. This is up. We got this just lightly installed, I should say. The battery box is just in there, so I can kind of get an idea of room. Coming down, we got our regulator rectifier just kind of dangling. That'll also find a zip tied home. Our brake switch, brakes will work. And then there's really nothing on this side other than the wiring for the condenser that goes up underneath there. That is now, oh man, dadgummit, look, I found something I don't like. I don't like it. So I'm gonna have to go over there and unhook the blue and the yellow and get it to go under here, not underneath that just doesn't look right. Much better. And that's all she wrote for the wiring today. Got to get my my rear in gear and take a look-see at the handlebars that I'm going to use, the switches, the switch assemblies, get my multimeter out again. In fact, I can show you them in here. I got them in here on the bench. Got to go ahead and make sure that all of this is going to work. The handlebars, the switches, the handlebars will work obviously, but the switch assemblies, make sure it's going to work the way it's supposed to. It's not in bad shape. The bars aren't bad. The switches, you know, it's going to go with the theme of the bike, which is functional. And all the switches feel like they work right, minus the starter button, which I'm not going to worry about the starter button right now because, well, I don't have the starter wiring. So that's going to be the next project, is getting the whole front end of the bike together. The forks, the wheel, all this is going. I got the stuff from the other bike that I took apart because I wanted the space to be able to walk around the new lift. So the wheel's over here, the forks are over here. I'm waiting on parts for the forks before I get that all back together. I did have a nice good close look at the fork seals in that one, or in those forks, and they're new. They're not the old ones. So I think I'm just gonna leave those alone. I'm just gonna put the dust cover over it, slide them up where they're supposed to go. This is all getting changed to the one that came off from the other donor bike. It's got the new upgraded ball bearing, cone bearings, whatever the hell, however the hell you want to call, whatever you want to call them. So that's all gonna be on the next video. And once I get all that hooked up, then I'm gonna need a battery, and then I can check for spark and I can check for timing, and then, you know, it's like a domino effect. It just, everything just starts falling. So I'm making good progress on this bike. I'm doing more than I figured I would do. I didn't think I was going to be this far this fast, so I'm kind of behind on ordering parts. So if you guys like this kind of stuff, these old bikes, making them run again, getting them back out on the road for people to enjoy, give me a like, tag, share, follow, subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you're looking for some free product, I got a super clean giveaway going on right now. All you got to do is hit up the video with a super clean, link to that. Just tell me a story. You know, why are you into old bikes? Why are you watching the channel? Whatever, just some kind of story. Why you sit and, I don't know, annoy your wife or your significant other on the couch at night while you're watching Vikings. You know, whatever. Just tell me a story, and it'll get you entered into a free giveaway. There's no nothing. You gotta tell me a story, subscribe, that kind of thing, and you know, so that'll get you some free super clean degreaser. And I think that's it. So, like you guys do at the end of all my videos, like, tag, share, follow, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and like always, till next time, thanks a lot.